You're joking, aren't you? It's the Teesside Chef. Simply pour the frothy, bubbly mixture in a pan, add your choice of tantalising toppings to make an airy, tasty breakfast easily and quickly. So let's get straight into this almost effortless recipe, because we all have things to do, don't we? With 425 grams of plain flour, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, a teaspoon of sugar, and 2 sachets of dried yeast, and that's about 14 grams. And I like to give the dry ingredients a little stir to make sure that none of that salt can touch the yeast, because salt will kill the yeast, before adding 300 millilitres of lukewarm water and 275 millilitres of lukewarm milk, and that may sound oddly specific, but it is the correct amount to make what will eventually become an airy, pourable mixture. But it won't become an airy, pourable mixture until we've whisked it really well until it's smooth first, and do take the time afterwards to scrape down the edges of the bowl to leave a nice clean shop, before covering and allowing to rise for 60 to 90 minutes in the warmest corner of your domicile, after which time the mix should have puffed up nicely and should be foamy and frothy on top. So let's go in and have a close look at what has occurred in our bowl during the rising period. And this plethora of bubbles tell me it is time to get cooking by pouring directly into a very well preheated pan on a medium heat, and if you need to, you can swirl the pan around after pouring to even the top of the mixture out. And I have a medium-sized non-stick frying pan here, which is ideal for this recipe, and as the mixture begins to cook, we can see the bubbles rising to the surface and popping in an oddly satisfying way. But before the mixture gets too dry on top, we need to sprinkle on our choice of toppings, and I have finely cubed bacon going on first, and after around 5 minutes, at this medium heat, when the mix looks dry on top, we can go ahead and flip before cooking for around 3 minutes on the other side to finish cooking the bacon and lightly brown what will eventually be the top side. And this is what the finished product should look like, with a firm golden brown underside and a lightly tanned top. So let's take this out of the pan and place it on a grid to cool before toasting. And I know what you're thinking, how will I get that huge disc of temptation in my toaster? Well, I will cover that conundrum a little later, but first I can give you another evidently toaster-friendly cooking option by using buttered rings in which to pour the mix. And if you didn't already know, I'm making crumpets here. The pan-fried version is called a pikelet, but they are essentially the same thing, and toppings can be added in the same way. But I have to confess that I usually only make the pikelet variety of this bubbly pan-fried treat, because it means I don't have to go through all this rigmarole here of releasing the crumpet from the ring and then getting rid of the searingly hot rings. And I also don't think that crumpets cooked in rings in this way cook as well as a pikelet. The thicker form can leave the insides a little undercooked for my tastes, but if you insist on making crumpets rather than pikelets, you will need to drop the heat a little and cook for a little longer on each side, or just stick to the pikelet version, which I'm delighted to say I'm doing again here with different toppings now. And don't worry, I haven't forgotten that I have to show you how to solve the pikelet toasted dilemma, and the solution for that little quandary will be coming up in about 50 seconds, so put that in your diary. And as you can see, I just added grated cheese and cooked for 5 minutes before flipping. And if I flip this again now after 3 more minutes on the other side, you can see that lovely melted, slightly browned cheddar cheese. And if that's not enough to raise your pulses, what about if I add some finely chopped jalapenos this time? But my absolute favourite topping is crumbled chorizo sausage, which I cooked lightly first before sprinkling on with more chopped jalapenos. And if that combination of flavours doesn't impress you very much, I shall make up for it now by fathoming the pikelet toaster predicament by simply cutting the cooked and cooled pikelet into 4 pieces with a pair of scissors, which will also permit me to give you a close-up of the airy, spongy interior. And after toasting very comprehensively and buttering very generously, our pikelet will be crispy on the outside and soft and creamy on the inside. And what a delight to eat that is, and what a delight it is to see you lot again. So thanks for watching, and don't be a stranger. Ta-ra.